Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Everyone, welcome. Children, their education, training, and self-development, part 1. We have gone through a similar talk before, so there may be some repetition, but I have included some schematics and also some new points to go through some aspects of educating our children on the Quranic guidance. I've noted some references here, and we are familiar with these books. There is only one book which I have added here, Atomic Habits by James Clear. I've included a slide on that, and I think we will benefit sharing some of those points. Now, human beings, they do injustice to themselves. What I've done over here is quoted a few verses to share with yourself. وَنَادَى فِرْعَوْنُ فِي قَوْمِهِ قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ أَلَيْسَ لِي مُلْكُ مِصْرَ وَهَٰذِهِ الْأَنْهَارُ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِي أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ. And what Quran says is that Pharaoh, what he did was that he declared to his people, he proclaimed among his people saying, "O my people, does not dominion of Egypt belong to me? These rivers flowing underneath, do you not see them?" And this is in relation to what happened between Bani Israel, Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, and Pharaoh. Quran says, the Quran, after this announcement by Pharaoh, and Pharaoh also says, Ana Rabbukum al-A'la, that I am your Rabb, as far as this word is concerned. So over here, the Quran says, thus did he make fools of his people, and they obeyed him. Truly were they a fasiqeen people. So over here in Arabic, فَاسْتَخَفَّ قَوْمَهُ فَأَطَاعُوا إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا قَوْمًا فَاسِقِينَ. So there are two words over here which need our attention. First is فَاسْتَخَفَّ, where what he did was that he demeaned those people. He brought them to such a state that they فَأَطَاعُوهُ, that they willingly followed him. So this is an instruction for us, a guidance for us in today's world, that I hope we don't fall in that category. إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا قَوْمًا فَاسِقِينَ, and as a result, they also became a people who are all fasik. And fasik, we know that those people who fall outside the pattern of Allah. And then Quran says, وَمَا ظَلَمْنَهُمْ وَلَكِنْ كَانُوا هُمُ الظَّالِمِينَ. So Quran says, we did not do any injustice to people. Allah says that I do not do any injustice to people. People themselves do injustice to themselves. So if we see the situation in today's world is similar, where Pharaoh, and we know today's superpowers and the West and people who control the world, they are exactly saying the same, that this world belongs to us. And don't you see it? And people see it as well, because they see that the whole power is concentrated in few hands at the top. And then what they have done is through all means, and we have gone through it in Shaitan and Iblis, our presentation of Shaitan and Iblis, that they have made them obey the system. And as a result, most of the people fall in this category of fasiqeen. So over here then, as a result, they all are unjust people. So this is the whole crux of our discussion when we are talking about the Quran. And what I've done is I put down some comments here. Verses like this can be related to the world events around us. There is a cause for every event taking place around us. There is always a human hand behind it. We do not wish our children to fall prey to this system of Iblis. So our effort is that whatever way we have spent our life, but our children, who are the future generations of this world, they should not fall prey to it. That the Pharaoh can, فَاسْتَخَفَّ قَوْمُهُ فَأَطَاعُوهُ, that he brings them down psychologically to such a low level that they are forced to obey. Physically, yes, obedience is impossible, we cannot escape it, but at least intellectually, they should understand that what kind of a world they are living in. Now, in today's presentation outline is responsibilities as parents. Some points I have noted down here according to my own understanding, and we can always add more to it. Why should we help our children to develop ourselves? Two products, different environment. There is a word in front of us, it is producing a certain product. And then we can see that what else we want from this life. Few verses as signposts, forming habits. These points I have taken from Atomic Habits by James Clear. Long-term goal and its pitfalls. Helping to create desire and need. We have seen that human beings pursue those objectives in life where they feel a need for it and they see a benefit for it. And as a result, they create their own desire and motivation for it. Making the Quranic teaching interesting. Quranic teaching can be very dry as well. It could be very boring as well if somebody is not interested. So we will look at some points under this in this slide. Some verses I will share with you, and schematic on expanded consciousness, and then conclude it. First, in relation to parents, as responsibility as parents is that we should understand our own limitations, which are related to ourselves, in order to address these while making efforts to bring up the children. We all evolve during our life. We start from zero and gradually the slate of our self gets filled up, and we leave imprints through our own deeds, education, training, and whatever outlook and desires we have. Understand the limitations imposed by the society and its values on people. Now, this is very important because we are not only we are experiencing these limitations as well as strengths of a society and the values of people around us, but at the same time, we are going to expose our children to these values and this environment. Our economic state should be assessed realistically, present one as well as the future one. Understand the fundamentals of the Quran and acquire the ability and practice to be able to reach the appropriate verses, acquire strong desire to do this, and also enjoy doing it. Now, why I have written over here that enjoy doing it, that life shouldn't be a boring exercise that we are just living and getting fed up with everything and depressed and pulled down and hopeless. The Quran gives us hope, and our job is to make it as interesting, our life as enjoyable as possible within the circumstances in which we are living. Interact with those who are also making efforts in this direction. It is essential for moral strength. While we are living in a world which is created by the system of Iblis, we have to adjust ourselves with that, and we have to grow out of it. Understand the functioning of the law of requital, very important, and other laws as well. So these are our efforts to understand our own self as much as possible in all its finer details, get practice in evidence collection from our daily life and dealings, because this will help us to teach our children, because something with which we are convinced and we are practicing it, we can relate to it with our children. Be as much aware of the world in which we live and strengths and weaknesses. I've covered this point earlier. Know the stages of development of the self using the signposts of the Quran, and acquire the requisite determination and steadfastness to counter any temptations for shortcuts or worst-tail tendency to give up. We are humans, and as human beings, we have certain limitations as well. And Quran has also pointed to it, that Shaitan whispers in our mind, our negative thoughts also invade us sometimes. So we should be well aware of it and not let hopelessness get anywhere near us. Now, there are two kinds of, what I've done over here is I've drawn a schematic and said, I thought that we should present as a schematic two products. That is two kinds of products of human environment of 2021. One is we see it all around us. And the world around us is based on the assumption that life ends with death. The choice of the hereafter is eliminated. So children are brought up with one choice only before them. So if we do not provide education and training and cognitive awareness to our children, what will happen is they will think the world they are finding around them, that is based on truth. That is a fact, and that is all they have. Then they will have no choice. So here we are trying to create another choice. And it's a non-deen word, we know it. And why we say non-deen? Because we check it up, we verify it through the Quran. All institutions are geared towards producing a product for the market economy. So we should be very clear that presently the whole world is geared towards materialistic values. And basically they are economic, wealth. Labor force and the ruling elite, success is defined without the life of the hereafter. Nobody talks of the hereafter here. The world is based on this assumption that life ends with death, even if they're not thinking about it, but underlying subconsciously, this value is controlling the whole world. And labor force, we know it. They are the cogs in the machine. They are used as mechanically as robots to produce more wealth and produce things. Iblis is in full control of today's world. The whole system, capitalist, is supported by political leaders and religious leaders. Children witness it and believe in it. This is a fact, because as Quran has very clearly stated, the three pillars of control which control the human world is Pharaoh and Haman and Karun. And we are aware of it, and we need to explain it to children. The final product is what? Final product of this system does not meet the criteria of thee. Now, this is a fact. That's why we are making effort to create a self which can meet the criteria of thee. Now, what I have done over here is I have taken an offshoot right at the beginning, which says, while being part of this system, that while we are being part of this system, our thinking is free. And that thinking we can utilize for an alternative system which can give us a different product. Take a flight and create own mini deen within our homes. We have discussed this point earlier as well in one of our presentations, and I've quoted two verses here. And that is the successful depend on two aspects, need plus benefit, if deen becomes their objective. So we have to create a need for this alternative system. It's not easy. I know it. We are all experiencing it. But at least at a thinking level, we can expand our horizon of our thought process to such an extent where we can let our children know that they have an alternative choice. And since this system is not on ground anywhere in the world, so they can always put their efforts in this direction. Now, why help children to develop themselves? First is children need education, training, and its application in order to get a job or to manage a business, depending upon the circumstances. This will be in line with the society and its setup. So whether we give them education of the Quran or not, education of the system of deen, whether they want to develop their self on these lines or not, still they have to get education, training, experience to get on with life since they have landed in this world. So this is important that they should understand it and we should understand it. In order to optimize the above, we need to equip them with a self which is higher and better than the self which the non-deen society offers. A self which can cope with all kinds of conditions existing anywhere on the planet. So the point over here is that we have to sell, inverted commas, sell the system of deen as a concept to them and telling them that while they are getting education, training, and to get a job in this world, to go through this life, there is a better way of living this life, that is living at a higher level where they know the requirements of the system of deen and they can develop their self in that direction through iman and amal saleh, and that will not hinder with their success in this life. So they will get advantage of both, at least at a thinking level or a level of their self. We need to be aware of the psyche of those who are non-Quranic and also know as much of the psyche which the Quran helps to acquire. It's a progressive process and needs consistent and persistent efforts by all participants. So they will, by virtue of coming to the Quran, they will better understand the people around them who are not attracted by the Quran. Because we know we went through our previous presentation in which we went over Hizb Shaitan and Hizbullah. So from that aspect, they will know that people who do not come to the Quran, what sort of a psychology they have. And in that way, they can adjust themselves better in the environment. If we have the ability to make choices, then we need full freedom to make these choices. The societies where choices are reduced, there is less creative activity. Organized R&Ds are created and encouraged to develop creative activity. This field will open another avenue where they can carry out research as well. And even if they're carrying out research within the man-made system, they will have a far more advantage than those who do not think like the Quran. Because as a result, our motivation definitely goes up. There is an advantage in doing that. Human intellect needs to be developed and trained to the highest level within reach. Since the system of deen needs human intellect and physical efforts, hence as per the law of requital, whatever we send forward, we reap the benefits of our efforts in the past. If the system of deen does not begin to shape up in the life of the parents, then it is possible that it may start taking shape in the life of the children. Life is all about hope and desires. If you remember, we shared some of the quotes from Human Self and Iblis. And if desires die down, then we are dead. Quran helps us to create even more desires than what we get or what we have within the man-made system. So from that point of view, I thought I'll put down some of these thoughts which we can apply to our children and ask them to go through them and then decide for themselves. Now, over here, we'll compare and contrast. Both are created by human mind. Both live in the same world, being washed by Allah. I have selected some photographs here of the net, and those will provoke some of our thoughts, and we should share them with our children. First this is a photograph somewhere from, I think, South America, where there are two human beings, rather three human beings are sitting in a very parallel circumstances. They're exactly same human beings as we are, and we should ask our children to relate to them. They're also children, just like the children we have. So we should relate to them. And there is a mom sitting there and the children over there. Exactly the same. They don't have to live in these conditions. There's another one. This is a photo from a slum. And they are again human beings. And we see them all over the world, particularly in the third world environment where majority of human beings live. And Quran points to these conditions. And there is another one. This is a village, and we can see the state of affairs over there. And all these streets, if we go to a village where there are mud houses, all this can be transformed through human efforts, bit of organization and planning. And there is another one which human beings have created. And these are the human beings who never think of this. And there is another one, and we are aware of it. And we have seen these new developments coming up with everything well organized in the same land where there are people living like that. So this should give us some food for thought. And there is another contrast, which I thought we will, I put some pictures together here, that instead of creation, we cause destruction. And from clockwise on the top is Yemen. We know what is going on over there and what is taking place. He is just a human being whose house has been destroyed. And for no reason, just because he is poor. So we should keep that in mind, that if the Quran doesn't come into our life and we don't have a system, then this will continue. This is another one. This is a picture from Syria. Syria was a beautiful country. And people who visited there before the civil war, which was created by the outside forces. And all of these buildings, we should imagine they were created by human hands. And these human beings were not saying anything to anyone, but they got destroyed just because they are human beings and they are in a different land. And then this is the one who did it. So we should be very clear on that. And just see the state of the buildings in two photographs. And there is another one. Now this is from Afghanistan. They are human beings. They were not saying anything to anyone. They did nothing, no harm to anyone. Still, they suffered. Why did they suffer? Because there is no Momineen. And this is another one. Again, Afghanistan. This is a child. And there is the mom standing in front, just to relate to them. Just to relate our own mom, our own children to this situation. And then this is the one, Palestine. And we all know what is going on over there. These are beautiful buildings. With a lot of effort, they constructed them. Once these go up, they destroy them. Why do they destroy them? They're human beings. How can we stop this happening? So let children witness it without getting emotional. Quran asks us never to get emotional, never to be provoked. But look at the circumstances in the light of the law of requital, that what is going on and how can we counter it. The whole procedure is given in the book. Now let us look at few verses as signposts for the human self-growth or development. We have shared this one before as well. وَمَا لَكُمْ لَا تُقَاتِلُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَالْمُتَّضْعَفِينَ مِنَ الرِّجَالِ وَالنِّسَاءِ وَالْوِلْدَانِ الَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا أَخْرِجْنَا مِنْ هَٰذِهِ الْقَرْيَةِ الظَّالِمِ أَهْلُهَا وَاجْعَل لَّنَا مِن لَّدُنكَ وَلِيًّا وَاجْعَل لَّنَا مِن لَّدُنكَ نَصِيرًا. If we remember, this is a verse from Surah Al-Nisa, where Allah who owns the universe, who has created everything, he says, and why should you not fight in the cause of Allah and of those who being weak are ill-treated? So he is asking us, Jamaat Momineen, that why don't you go and fight in the cause of Allah on his behalf? Men, women, and children whose cry is, our Rabb, rescue us from this town, whose people are oppressors, and raise for us from you one who will protect, and raise for us from you one who will help. So all the destruction which we have seen in some of the photographs which I've shared with you is because of not having this. This will continue. We should keep it in mind, and we should let our children know as well. Very famous verse which Allama Pervez has quoted very frequently, and I also quote it very frequently, because this is the soul of Deen, where Quran says you will be falsifying Deen. All claims of being Momineen and those will be falsified if yatim and miskeen are not in your mind and you are not going to do anything about them. Very simple. The system of Iblis creates yatim and miskeen, and we know it. They not only create yatim and miskeen, if they leave yatim and miskeen alone as well, that will be probably a sign of mercy or compassion. But they go and kill them as well. They make them even worse. وَالَّذِينَ كَافَرُوا بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ إِلَّا تَفْعَلُوهُ تَكُنْ فِتْنَةٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَفَسَادٌ كَبِيرٌ. So Quran has very clearly defined his shaitan here. Those who do kufr are protectors of one another. Unless you do this, there will be tumult and oppression on earth and great mischief. So Quran has made it very clear, and it's based on evidence. The beauty of today's word is that all the verses which deal with Hizb Shaitan and Kafaru and Munafiqun and Mushrikun and others, we got plenty of evidence for that. And this will continue because it's continuing for last many centuries, since the time Islam was established initially on the basis of the Quran. After that, the decline started and the people started following their own desires. And we have that state right in front of us. Now, forming some habits leading to change in identity. I thought these are some of these points which are of practical significance, because all these books like Atomic Habits are written by people based on their observation and their own research. First one is, habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Getting 1% better every day counts for a lot in the long run. So what he has written is that don't go for big changes within your own personality, go for small changes. Like we are doing, we are having one presentation, one talk every Sunday, and see how much we have produced in the last 9 or 10 months. And this is the result of building a structure brick by brick. If we don't have means, then gradually build it up. Habits are very difficult to change. So if we want to change them, 1% every day will make a huge change after 1 year. He's calculated it to about 33% change. An atomic habit is a little habit that is part of a larger system. Atomic habits are the building blocks of remarkable results. And I agree with him. In the case of educating and training and learning in the Quran, we make very small efforts every day, every week, every month, every year, and it makes a horrendous difference to ourselves. If you want better results, then forget about setting goals, focus on your system instead. This point needs a bit of explanation. What he says is that, for example, if the goal we have set is that we are going to get a degree of, let's say, MSc or a graduation, then that is a goal. And it's an important goal, valid goal, but he says, look at the system through which we will get that degree, because that system will tell us how to remain focused, how to work hard, how to educate ourselves, how to get experience, how to interact in the college, university, everywhere. And then if we get the degree, then if our goal is degree, then we will feel diffused, deflated the moment we got the degree. Then we will say, what next? But if we have learned the system, then we have really trained ourselves to set another goal. So that is why it is important that we concentrate on the system of achieving something rather than just the goal of it. The most effective way to change your habits is to focus not on what you want to achieve, this is very important, but on who you wish to become. Because end of the day, goal or system, whatever we are doing, it is our self which is benefiting. And the self is gradually getting old as well. We are getting towards our final point of no return, that is death. So if, keeping the Quranic criteria in view, we have to aim to become something. And that is more important. Your identity emerges out of your habits. So the way we develop our habits, that is how our identity comes out. Every action is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. And I will say what we wish to become. And I thought this is important for children as well. The real reason habits matter is not because they can get you better results, although they can do that, but because they can change your beliefs about yourself. This is a very interesting point he makes. All the beliefs which we hold on, if we change our habits, some of those beliefs will fall flat. Some of the wrong beliefs which we hold, even about our own health or about our own outlook, those will change if we are concentrating on that with a higher awareness level. Obviously, we will only change our habits when we are aware that we want those habits. We want to become a better person. So there is a lot implied within this line. The ultimate purpose of habits is to solve the problems of life with as little energy and effort as possible. What else we can have? We have the Quran. And this is very important, that as Scott Peck in his book, The Road Less Traveled, he says, either in life we are part of the problem or part of the solution. We cannot be part of both. So it is important that we should be part of the solution, the problems created by Hizb Shaitan. The 4 laws of behavior change are a simple set of rules we can use to build better habits. And they are: make it obvious. That is, make it obvious to yourself, and in fact, do a public commitment to others as well, that I'm going to do it, because once we publicly commit something, then it becomes hard to go back. Make it attractive. So it shouldn't be boring. It should have some kind of motivation in it. There should be an incentive in it. Make it easy. And if we do it step by step, that is 1% change every day, rather than running 20 miles in one day, it is better we run 1 mile every week and then continuously improving it. Make it satisfying as well, that once we have done something, we should feel satisfied that the goal we set for us, it has been achieved. And we can have a great goal if our children are educated in the teachings of the Quran and they find a change within themselves. They find it useful. And it is taken from Atomic Habits by James Clear. Now, long-term goal and its pitfalls. Over here, I will share a very interesting schematic with you. It took me a while to put it together. First, I've drawn a big arrow. It's which covers our life. Individual and collective efforts to develop own self, then to help disseminate the message. Now, this is from Quranic point of view, and explain to others. During this process, not to be diverted to any other self-created short-term goal. Keep reminding we need to make as much effort, if not more, as much Iblis makes for his cause. Remember, his life ends with death, whereas our life will go beyond that. What I've done is I have tried to go through that what should be the gist of our message. That is, Iblis is making a lot of effort, and who has successfully created a world around us. Whatever the definition of success is, he has done it. We have to make, if not more, as much effort as Iblis is making. And this is our path. And goal in this life is for the Jamaat is to establish the system of Deen, individual to collective effort, acquiring a self which can do it. So this is our aim. I hope everyone agrees on that, but at least that is my aim. Now, what happens is that if I'm standing here and I'm looking at that, my effort should be, number one, never do it half-heartedly. Do it fully. If I do it half-heartedly, cancel it out. Second is, I should never get involved into any politics and political party, because Allah has forbidden parties. He has himself made 2 parties, and we should stick to his party system. And we should reject it. Give up and isolate. So isolation is not an answer. Coming together should be our aim. If we haven't come together, we should make an effort to come together. And that will come through unity of thought within us. Again, this should be rejected. And these things will come on this path. And I've seen it. One is tempted to go in this direction. Then is charity work. Oh, we'll do some charity work. We create a small state where welfare will be, and that we will create a model. You cannot, because that will divert our attention. Yes, we should do individual good work as much as possible to develop ourselves. That is fine. If some of us come together and do it, but not as part of this platform, create another platform. That is creating another party within Hezbollah. And whatever party we create within Hezbollah will be Hizb ut-Shaitan's party. And then is create self-doubts. That is the worst thing. And all these things actually come through self-doubts. And Quran has right at the beginning said that if you follow this book, the doubts must disappear. So that means we haven't made enough effort if the doubts are coming in our mind, and we are not very sure where we are going. So keep reminding ourselves. And when I say ourselves, this includes me as well as children and every one of us. The world is a mess because no Jamaat exists to perform Allah's responsibility. He is waiting for all those who day and night read the Quran to do something about it. And I put down a verse here. His help is available 24/7. So this is how we should look at our efforts. Helping children to create desire and need. I'll share some points under this category. Children like to play and do things to explore life at their level of existence. Many do not like discipline and study as they need to use their mind. Intellectual use needs attention and energy. And of course, Quran needs a lot of use of intellect. So they will be at sometimes they will feel very bored. They like peers of their age and would like to spend time with them, listen to their conversations, which are at a very basic level, mostly exchanging views without paying any attention. Deliberate thinking does not come into it. Get some experience of listening to children where there are some children playing or talking to each other and of different ages. You will see the level of their conversation. It helps to understand human psyche. If parents ask them to go against any of the above, they will start to hide things. So if we want them to take more serious view of life, then it has to be a very gradual, subliminal introduction to the Quran. Being truthful is not a mechanical process. They will only be truthful if they understand the importance of it. This aspect can be easily tested. We can test it as well. Children rarely see the world through the eyes of the adults around them. Young children do not. Probably when they become a bit aware is after 15, 16 and that kind of an age. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't give them the dose of the Quran earlier. Draw their attention. They may appear to be listening and registering, but will forget soon and get on with the things of their interest. Tactful repetition helps not to annoy them. This is very important. If children start becoming annoyed or bored and disinterested, withdraw. Pull yourself back and do it some other time when they are more prone towards listening. Some children like reading books and develop interest at an early age, while others have to be drawn towards reading these books. Availability of books in the house helps to promote this habit. Very important. If we want our children to read, we should read. They should see us reading. And once we are reading and we read some interesting paragraph, we should try to share with them. Talking to them about some interesting books may arouse their interest. Remember, Quran is also a book. How to make the Quranic reading interesting. I've noted down some points here, and we all can add more to it. Relate these to day-to-day events in life. Quran will become very boring if we are just talking about the values. These have to be related to real events in our life. Avoid such events within the family which can put bad impression on some member. Never ever give examples from immediate family. For example, if we are talking about shaitan, don't start quoting to them that so-and-so cousin is a shaitan and so-and-so uncle is a shaitan. No, don't do that. Because what happens is that it will put off children. And the next time they see them, they will start seeing them with a different perception. Cousins, uncles, own children. It is better to remain impersonal or related to politicians. Use impersonal examples, for example, politicians, media. Avoid neighbors as well, because you are living in the same environment, so it doesn't help. Keep the law of requital in mind all the time, because let children also work out examples themselves. They are very clever. Once we explain to them, and they can relate it to themselves as well. The aim is to educate and train, not to condemn anyone. Read through various accounts of different messengers and the permanent values applicable to various events. For example, in the story of Hazrat Yusuf, the significance of harmony within the family is very important. telling truth, not to conspire against each other, helping other human beings, remain steadfast under difficult circumstances. Chastity, very important, but we should avoid discussing chastity at a very younger age. Planning and organizing the sustenance for people, be helpful and not be revengeful. Take very long-term view of life, not to feel sad if isolated for a very high aim in life. Because tomorrow, if children have to go away and do work in some other land, and for years they may not be able to meet their parents. So this story does help. Bring some history into it, maybe recent history like World War I, World War II, wars in the Middle East, colonial history relating to the rise and fall of nations, downfall of the Islamic system of deen. These are all very good examples to which we can relate what is given in the Quran in terms of the permanent values. Use a whiteboard or paper and pencil and draw diagrams to explain if possible. So it will increase our own creativity as well, that if we'll think that how to explain to them, we will think of some diagrams, some schematic. Read a verse on some permanent value and then inquire smilingly, could a human being think like this? Relate the world around us to human desires and emotions. Explain the reasons for downfall. Simple reason is that the Quranic teaching was contaminated. This point I will emphasize to children because they should understand that Quran is a complete formula. And with their chemistry, physics, mathematical background, they should be able to relate to it. Relate to two states of human psyche, which is emotive and rational thinking at a very fundamental level, and then tell them what is Quranic thinking, so that they are able to differentiate between the two. Explain emotive and rational thinking through examples of daily life. And within this rational thinking, we can explain to them critical thinking as well, and analytical thinking. We can tell them the story. I just left it one because I had made another slide, but I took it out at the last minute. I thought I'll cover it in our part 2. Story of two men approaching Hazrat Dawood. This is the reference given here. Story of Qarun as a representative of the capitalist system. So if we go through them, they're very interesting. Step by step, those stories come to some conclusion. Verses, never to give up and make do. First is, this is about Hazrat Musa, where he is instructed by Allah, and a wahi sent to him, وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى مُوسَى وَأَخِيهِ أَن تَبَوَّأَ لِقَوْمِكُمَا بِمِصْرَ بُيُوتًا وَجَعَلُوا بُيُوتَكُمْ قِبْلَةً وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Where Bani Israel were more or less confined to their homes, they probably didn't have any mosque or synagogue to go through. And there was a lot of suppression. So Hazrat Musa was guided and his brother were guided that whatever training you want to do, education you want to do, make your own homes centers for that. So it is beautiful here, buyutakum qiblatan. So make it your own qibla, because you need to have some goal and create that goal within the light of the wahi. And aqimus salata, and that is where the system of salat will start taking shape. And from here, the Quran says it is a glad tidings. So this is, the situation is not very dissimilar to what we have in today's world. And then another verse, similar context, fi buyutin azin Allahu an turfa wa yuzkara fiha ismuhu yusabbihu lahu fiha bil ghuduwwin wal asal. This is from Surah Nur. And what Allah says is, it is, if you remember, this is the famous verse where Allahu nuru samawati wal ard, and it starts from that and then goes through different parts. And what Quran is saying is that this is the light in houses which Allah has permitted to be raised in honor for his dhikr in them, for his attribute. What I've done is ismuhu, his name, I have translated it as his attribute. In them is he followed in the mornings and evenings, and which essentially means that you have to keep reminding yourself. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu la tulhikum amwalukum wala auladukum an zikrullah wa man yaf'al zalika fa ulaika humul khasirun. This is a famous verse of chapter 63. It will help if we can go through the rest of the other verses as well following it. What Quran says is that, O those who have iman, let not your riches and your children divert you from the dhikr of Allah. So that means that your children should be part of it as well, that all of you do dhikr of Allah. Because if we haven't trained them, then obviously they are going to divert us. So this is important that all of us are together in it. And فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْخَاسِرُونَ, then of course the life is going to end with death. And if we do not have the same self which can go on to the next stage of evolution, then obviously we have a problem. Over here, I have put down some verses just to give hope to children. Wherever in the Quran we go through the verses, we will see that the tone of the Quran changes once it goes from Momineen to Kafirun and from Kafirun to Momineen. There is a softer touch in the Quran and a very delicate touch, very refined touch once it talks about Momineen. لِيُدْخِلَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ جَنَّةٍ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارُ خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا وَيُكَفِّرَ عَنْهُمْ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ وَكَانَ ذَلِكَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. The Quran says that he may admit Mu'min men and women to Jannat beneath which rivers flow to dwell therein eternally and remove their ills from them. So we all make mistakes. Quran recognizes it. And then it says, we have told you the procedure. We have given you the procedure to overcome the negative effects of your deeds. And وَقَانَ ذَلِكَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. And then Quran sums it up that it is your own achievement. If you make an effort and go through the procedures which we have given under the law of requital, then you will achieve it. And see, the language is that there is a great reward waiting for them. And that reward will never cease. It's eternal. So this should encourage and motivate children. يُعَذِّبَ الْمُنَافِقِينَ وَالْمُنَافِقَاتِ وَالْمُشْرِكِينَ وَالْمُشْرِكَاتِ الزَّانِينَ بِاللَّهِ ظَنَّ السَّوْءِ عَلَيْهِمْ دَائِرَةُ السَّوْءِ وَغَضِبَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَعَنَهُمْ وَأَعَدَّ لَهُمْ جَهَنَّمَ وَسَاءَتْ مَصِيرًا. And that he may punish munafiq men and women and mushrik men and women who imagine an evil opinion of Allah. On them is a round of evil. The wrath of Allah is on them. He has cursed them and got hell ready for them, and evil is it for a destination. So over here in the second one, all those who are munafiqeen and munafiqat and the mushrikeen and mushrikat, about them, the Quran is very, very assertive and very clearly tells them that they are going to suffer for what they do. So this gives us hope as well that the system of justice under the law of requital is continuously working. Now, I over here share a schematic which I've drawn about the expanding view of human consciousness. And if we see that at a very lower level in the human world in which we live, there is a limited vision, life ends with death. And particularly our brothers and sisters living in rural areas who are not educated, they have a very limited vision. And we know about it. They cannot think beyond their immediate environment in which they are brought up. Then there are people who get education and training and experience, and their vision expands. And if their vision is limited, it is because the system is such which subjugates these people. And if the vision increases in education and training, then our vision, what I've done is the breadth of the arrow I have increased. Then is education plus training plus experience, extra study and research widens human vision about the world. And of course, there is no hereafter up to this point. Depth and breadth of vision is confined to this life only. So the point I'm trying to make is the moment we go into the arena of the Quranic thinking, our vision expands significantly. And then is this life goes on this plane. This is a state of the world in which we live. And then what I've done is I have drawn a couple of arrows here. Guidance of the Quran opens up a new world. The human self and the possibility of the system of deen, the life of the hereafter becomes a reality. And what I've done is that over here, the breadth of this arrow is noted here. And over here, I have increased the breadth between the two arrows. So our vision increases as we go into the domain of the Quran. And then human intellect gains height and breadth, vision to witness the reality of human creation. And then his Quranic self emerges for the system of deen, coming together of those who wish to work for deen, seeing the world through the Quranic lens. So over here, if we see that now, for example, through our talks which we have shared, we can see the world better, and we also have improved our understanding about the Quran. We have done a lot of talks on human thinking as well. So our state over here is far better than the state of people within this category. Nothing to put them down. This is just the realistic situation as we face in today's world. And this is an ever ascending path. So for us is to keep expanding our vision, keep us expanding the outlook of ourselves, and also to develop ourselves to that level where we are able to attract more people into our fold and then work together. Now, conclusions. We live in a world which is created by the human intellect and has strengths and weaknesses. We know what kind of a human product it produces. I've gone through this, that the product of today's world, we know it. And if we want our children to be a better product, then we have to make an effort to draw their attention towards the Quran. If we wish our children to benefit from the teaching of the Quran and wish them to acquire a Quranic self for the system of deen, then we need to act as early as possible in their life. Remember, there is no shortcut to this process of education, training, and self-development. We have to practice it. And I always say that if parents are 100% Quranic, then there is a good chance that the children will also benefit, because efforts dilute with the passage of time. So our efforts should be to become as good as possible in understanding the Quran. We need to acquire a fairly good understanding of the Quran and have all the relevant books of Allama Pervez to use these as a ready reference. Frequent search will help us to learn quickly. If you remember in our question and answer session, Dr. Hamid Mia very rightly said that we should make an effort to search the verses ourselves and then see the context of it. Because the more we make an effort, the more we will learn. Children need to see their parents fully committed to Allah's book. Only then we should expect good results. Half-hearted attempts are like gambling, because we may succeed, we may not succeed. Half of our children may not come to the Quran, half of them might just disappear. It is our choice that how much effort we make. If we make concerted efforts, then we should get good results. According to the law of requital, whatever we invest in the early part of our life, we should achieve better results in the later part, even if the system around us is of Iblis. Allah through the Quran teaches us hope and commitment to our cause and to give our best within the means we have and never to give up. And we should remain united. وَتَعْصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. And with that, I come to the end of this presentation. Thanks for your time and for sharing this presentation.